Maybe. Hi, I'm Jonathan.
And I'm Lauren.
And we are Glib Shark. Tonight, Jack Edithil is out on assignment in some damn place.
In France. In France.
You're I'm not the geography nerd, so I can't just pop out some obscure ass location for Jack to be at. But suffice to say, Jack is not here, but we still have, as actually with pretty good regularity, the lovely and talented, the amazing Obo Crazy, here to do a little something we call This Week in Geek. How are you, Obo?
I'm doing good. I've got Olympic and music news, because Olympics and music, sports and theater, they go together like peanut butter and chocolate. Or I'm going to keep saying so, even though people keep telling me no. First, do you like Game of Thrones? Well, the answer obviously is yes, because you're listening to the show. But even if you don't like Game of Thrones, you've probably heard the theme song. It's pretty iconic. You've also probably heard some other music from the show. It's pretty awesome. How would you like to hear it performed by a live orchestra on tour with the composer? I thought that you'd say yes as well. So I'm going to tell you about it. That's right. Next February, the TV show's musical composer will tour the U.S. with a full orchestra and choir to bring the most memorable musical moments from Game of Thrones to gigantic concert venues near you. And when I say gigantic, I am not being hyperbolic. The pictures of the concept art of what they're going to turn giant amphitheaters into is a little insane. It kind of looks like they're going to have the orchestra off to the side. There's going to be a huge screen playing scenes from the actual show. There are braziers on either side with giant gouts of flame and spires. And it kind of looks more like an opera is coming than, a symphony orchestra playing Game of Thrones music. Either way, it looks to be kind of epic. There was this press release that came out that said, quote, "For the past 6 seasons of Game of Thrones, we've been tremendously inspired to compose music to David Benioff's and D.B. Weiss's extraordinary adaptation of George R. R. Martin's epic Song of Ice and Fire series. Now, by combining the music with state-of-the-art technology, we're going to bring the astonishing world of Westeros to fans in a live and unique concert experience," end quote. So apparently tickets go on sale Saturday, August 13th. So if you're listening to this way far in the future, tickets went on sale. Go buy them now. And there's a whole listing of concert venues. It's pretty awesome. And I may have to go and look into that, just because, not only is it really good music, but seriously, look this up if only to see the concept art for what the stage is supposed to look like. It's crazy. In other music news, because guess what? I'm a musician, and so sometimes This Week in Geek is filled with music news. Are you familiar with the St. Paul Chamber Orchestra? Yes, I knew you were. No, let me tell you. St. Paul Chamber Orchestra is one of the most premier chamber orchestras in the world. It's not just excellent musicians. It's excellent musicians playing outstanding music in small, intimate venues. It's some of the world's best musicians playing amazing music, and getting to hear them is always a treat. They are actually now offering that treat to students free of charge. That's right. The 2016-17 season will have free tickets to school and college students for unlimited concerts. You do have to go online and order the tickets a week before single tickets go on sale to the general public. So this isn't your normal student rush, show up 30 minutes beforehand and hope that there's something. You have to sign up ahead of time. The St. Paul Chamber Orchestra managing director and president John Limbacher said, quote, "It's a real statement that says we want you here. We want you to be part of our concerts. We want you to be part of the SPCO family over time." End quote. So students ages 6 to 17 need to be accompanied by an adult with a ticket, but each adult can bring up to 4 younger students. College students will have to show a valid ID when collecting their tickets. And the program is being financed by donations, which basically means all those people who are complaining about the young generation not coming to see orchestra concerts are literally putting their money where their mouth is. We are paying for you to come see a world-class orchestra. So if you happen to be in the Twin Cities, definitely go check this out. There's also a bunch of concerts that the St. Paul Chamber Orchestra performs all across the continent, and you have a chance to actually take advantage of this wherever they're performing. And I really highly recommend, if they come near you, go see them perform. It doesn't matter what they're performing. It's going to be worth it. So that was your 2 bits of orchestra news in This Week in Geek. Now for a little bit of Olympics, because, hey, it's the Olympics. And
yay, Olympics.
Yay, Olympics. I'm going to talk about how I'm watching or not watching the Olympics a little bit later in the show. But as for geeky news, did you know that the diving pool just turned green overnight? No? Well, now you do. Yeah, as the women's synchronized diving teams took the pool in Rio de Janeiro, they were greeted by a pool that was green. Yeah, the night before it was crystal clear blue and gorgeous. And to make a long story short, it's algae. Some of the more far-fetched and disgusting reasons as to why the Olympic pool changed to this really disgusting green color have basically been debunked. Chemist Rachel Burke said on Twitter, quote, "Algae or oxidized copper is typically the thing, no alien goo or ectoplasms," end quote. Olympic divers report that the water is so cloudy they can't see their diving partners because they've been doing like the synchronized diving, which is crazy, and you should definitely watch it if you can. And if you see side-by-side views of the pool, like before and after, this isn't a slight tint. This is full-on food coloring. So according to the Handbook on Pool Chemistry, which is something that actually exists and is awesome, oxidized copper usually leaves behind a pool with clear green water rather than cloudy water. Cloudy water usually indicates that an algae bloom is to blame. Algae blooms can be sparked by changes in the pool's chlorine levels. And a common way to avoid this is to use chlorine shock overnight to kill any algae in the pool. And chances are someone in the Olympic Committee is getting fired because, hey, you should not have algae in your pool. Now, they have conducted tests, and officials reportedly said that the water is not a risk for athletes' health. It is weird and gross, but, they've gone ahead with the competitions, and while it looks weird, they've gone ahead and completely continued to dive into it. So there you go, amongst all of the other weird issues going on during the Rio Olympics. Green water. Yay. That's all for This Week in Geek. I'm Obo Crazy, and I'm not jumping into a pool with water that is anything but blue.
Neither am I. And this indeed proves that the world is a strange place. And if you have a fact you want read live and on the air, get it to Obo Crazy at Obo Crazy on Twitter. Roosterteeth.com/Obo Crazy. Brain fart there. Slipped a gear. It happens. And
okay.
If it's awesome or if it's just wacky, we'll read it live and on the air. But I
am Obo Crazy wherever good Obo Crazies are sold.
Find your Obo Crazy now in stock. Yes. I'm glad you're talking about the Olympics right off, because I do have a Suicide Squad picture up on the stream right now, but it's not the Suicide Squad that people are probably thinking of or the one that's on their minds. But I am adding another image that has taken the internet by storm, and it is of Michael Phelps looking
frowny Michael Phelps.
Frowny Michael Phelps in a hoodie.
I love that picture, and I love that it has been memed so quickly. I saw 4 different tweets on my feed show up using that as a meme for 4 completely different things.
Yeah, and so this is actually relevant to tonight because the other guy in the picture is, and I'm going to butcher his name, Chad Leclau. Chad Leclau? He is the rival to Michael Phelps of the moment. And he has sort of been a douchebag. Like, I know some of these swimmers and a lot of times athletes can kind of have an attitude and have this sort of like bravado. But this guy really takes it to a different level. Like, he was trying to get under Michael Phelps' skin, like shadow box around him, just be kind of a douche. Well, they had the 200-meter butterfly final tonight, and Michael Phelps won his 20th gold medal.
Oy.
This guy, this douchebag, Chadla, what's his name? Chadla not meddling in that event, came in fourth. Didn't even make it to the medal stand.
Sometimes bad boys lose.
Yeah. And I'm like, there's so many awesome athletes that you can follow that happen to be American this time around. Katie Ledecky, Michael Phelps, and Simone Biles on the women's gymnastics team, Allie Rushman, and just tons and tons of awesome athletes that are worthy of our attention, not some of these jerkbags.
Well, and what's the name of the... This is sad that I'm going to perpetuate this. I'm you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to look it up because I don't want to... I'm looking up the name of an Olympian who just won a medal, and I'm going to look her up so that I get her name because it's relevant to the thing I want to discuss. While I'm looking this up, I'll say I don't have NBC or I don't have cable, which most of the time doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. Except with the Olympics, and where NBC is just like, nope, you don't have cable, and so fuck you, you can't watch the Olympics at all. You can't even go to, say, the BBC or, anywhere outside the country to watch any of the Olympics. So I have been really unable to watch any Olympic coverage, except, thank God, for Leslie Jones, who we talked about on Twitter a couple weeks ago because of the horrible things being said to her during the Ghostbusters premiere. And now all you people that I said go love her and follow her, you are reaping rewards because her Olympic coverage is amazing and makes me so happy.
I've seen some of those. They're really funny. So speaking of Twitter, and we will circle back to Leslie Jones because she had some comments about a sport that I've actually played before. Since when did Tiny Chat become like the means by which people get together online and smoke pot? Because I know they've made references to pot smoking before in some of their tweets that Tiny Chat has put out. But so Michael Phelps won the gold medal in the 200 butterfly. And this is their tweet. Holy smokes. Congrats on the 20th Olympic medal, gold medal, Michael Phelps Olympics, blah, blah, blah. Holy smokes. We all know that Michael Phelps has gotten into trouble in the off season as it were, for smoking weed. And honestly, I don't know why that's a big deal. I don't smoke a lot of weed, extremely rarely, but I don't understand like why that is a big deal. It's not like it's a performance enhancing drug or anything. I mean, at the most you could use it in sports would be like pain management. I would imagine.
Because I don't know. It's going to be one of those things that's going to continue to follow him. And there are going to be those people who are going to claim, well, if he smoked pot, then maybe he was doing other drugs. Because there still is that stigma that if you are smoking pot, that is a gateway drug into other more dangerous and deadly and horrible things like steroids, which is, there's no scientific proof of that. But there are going to be those people. And there are also people who will continue to look at Michael Phelps' accomplishments and want to do anything to tarnish that image.
Right. And I think Michael Phelps is one of those athletes that should be celebrated. I mean, those missteps off the field or out of the pool, as it were, he doesn't, he's a good sport, generally. He is, I know when they won the men's 400 relay, won their gold medal the other day, he was standing there and he's been very practiced. He's been on this medal stand 20 times getting gold, but he's standing there and one of his teammates just breaks down into tears. And Michael Phelps sees this and just is kind of like, oh man, come on. And it's like smiling and like hugging the guy and like, rubbing his head and being like, you're doing awesome. And it's stuff like that is cool. It looks like he's a really, really good teammate. So I think he's the kind of athlete that should be celebrated. I mean, obviously, if something comes out later and if he was absolutely horrible, this is going to be, I'm going to have to eat some crow. But at least for now, he's much better than that South African douchebag.
Well, and all we can do is say what we know. And it does seem at the moment like he is, the whole swim team seems to have a good vibe around them. And yeah, they do seem to be working as a team. And it's not just, hey, I'm Michael Phelps and I want to win 20 million gold medals, which he's doing anyway, and being, as it seems to be, a good guy. Circling back around to the thing I wanted to talk about, because now I'm more prepared. So do you recognize the name Corey Cogdell-Unreen?
I do not.
Okay. If I said that she's married to an NFL player and won a bronze medal in U.S. trap shooting, would that ring a bell?
No, but okay. You're starting to get there.
Okay, so there is this awesome lady who has won her third medal in trap shooting at the Olympics. I believe, so the one that she won so far is bronze. She won bronze at the last Olympics, which was in Beijing. And I think she won another medal several years beforehand. She is a multi-Olympian winning medalist for the United States in trap shooting, which is not easy. And so she was one of the first people to win medals. Trap shooting happened it was like the first thing in Olympics. It happened the morning of the next day. And so there were a couple of American Olympians who won medals. There was that 16-year-old who won a gold, and then Corey won a bronze, which is awesome and should be celebrated, except that she happens to be married to an NFL player. And so sadly, a lot of the headlines that you've probably seen about her winning aren't that this amazing woman, Corey Cogdell-Unreen, has won a bronze medal in trap shooting. What you've probably seen are things like what the Chicago Tribune put out, which is wife of Bears lineman wins a bronze medal today in Rio Olympics. Because, the fact that she is married to a Bears lineman is more important than her name. So there's been kind of this weird the flack isn't weird. Like, Chicago Tribune should have gotten flack for that. But there seems to be a lot of outlets that were actually reporting it that way, that were reporting not so-and-so won, but wife of a Bears lineman won. And it's been interesting on Twitter to see how long this has gone on before finally news outlets have started to actually fix it. There still isn't any official apologies from anybody. The Chicago Tribune basically just put out a second tweet later saying Corey Cogdell-Unreen won the bronze medal in women's trap shooting. It's her second Olympic bronze. But it's been interesting to see that kind of thing, that like, hey, here's this woman who has accomplishments of her own that are to be celebrated, and she's being billed as the wife of somebody else.
Yeah, that's shitty. And that's sort of like what happened with Hillary Clinton, where all the pictures of her being on stage at the Democratic National Convention were all of Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
And it's like, can't she have her own pictures? And this sort of reminds me of the same thing. But it's cool that the medals that we're getting are nice and diverse. The very first medal of the Rio 2016 Olympics was an American, Ginny Thrasher, who is I think a sophomore at University of West Virginia. So
yeah, she was the other air rifle shooter person.
Yeah.
The stuff that they do is amazing, and I wish I could have watched it live. But yeah, so she was kind of the perfect first gold medal, because when she was doing all the initial news circuits, she is this young, pretty college student who is an amazing shooter, and she did a really good job in the interviews that I saw her in. She was very well spoken, very practiced, and it was cool to see something like that. And I mean, she goes to a school in the Big 12, so that's awesome too. It's just been cool. And I know the medal count really shouldn't be a thing, but it is a thing. And right now, the United States is kicking butt. It's about the only thing we kick butt in at the moment. I would like to think there are other things, but yeah,
I would like to think there are other things too. But there's a lot of other negativity that's getting attention. But yes, the positive stuff should get the attention.
And bringing it back to Leslie Jones, I think that's one of the reasons that I've really enjoyed her Twitter following of the Olympics. She is unabashedly American. She is unabashedly cheering on for any American that she sees in any of the sports that she is watching at the Olympics. But it's a national pride that is never at the detriment of other Olympians. Like, it is never America's great and screw all the other guys. It's just America's fucking great and America's great and yay America. And so it's kind of joyous to watch her be joyful, because even when the Americans don't win or don't medal or don't do as well, she's still very supportive. And then the fun stuff is when she's watching what I usually super enjoy about the Olympics, which is seeing the sports you only get to see once every 4 years.
Yes, and that's what I wanted to reference. The one I wanted to talk about specifically was when she put up the one about team handball.
Oh yes, the whole series of handball stuff is amazing. It's comedy that is just speaking the truth.
And it's one of those things where she's not laughing at handball and she's not making fun of handball. She is legitimately not familiar with the sport, so just kind of talking about it. And I think that actually is good for the sport. I myself played handball in college.
Yeah, she does this. There were a couple of times with the whitewater rafting. She watched a little bit of the synchronized diving, and her confusion always is tinged with awe at the athleticism of whoever she's watching. It's always like, I don't know what the fuck this is, but these people are awesome at whatever the fuck this is, and that's amazing, you know. Or she was watching judo and she's like, look at these people, they could kick my ass. She was watching the synchronized diving. She's like, I don't know what I'm watching, but I know I would suck at this and these people are awesome. Like, there's something very positive and joyous about all of her commentary, even when it's, what the fuck is this? And it's the whitewater rafting is also really good because you can see what it is. But the one that I like the best is her going, how did they build this? Did they just find this and put up the little pylons? Did they build this? I want to know how did this come to be? Which is half of those Olympic sports. It's amazing.
I will say that yes, they did build it because we built one here.
Yep.
So Oklahoma City is the Olympic training facility, or it houses the Olympic training facility for rowing. If you take I-35 up to Oklahoma City proper, you will pass the Oklahoma River. You'll pass over it. And underneath those bridges are the lanes and facility for USA Rowing. And so it's actually pretty cool when we see Americans win or place at rowing, because those athletes trained here. Now, that whole area is starting to really grow because Chesapeake Energy, one of the companies around here, really is starting to develop that area. And one of the things they put in was a whitewater rapids facility. So you can actually go there and kayak or whitewater raft, and it's completely artificial. It's all just man-made rapids, and it's pretty cool. And a lot of times, Olympic venues will do that rather than find a spot in a river or something like that, because it's easier to control. You can make it as difficult or not difficult as you want, and you can change up the course a lot easier.
Which makes sense. And then you're not quite at the whims of so much of the natural terrain. And also you're not necessarily spoiling what could be a natural rapids, you know, and trying to cart everybody out there. But it's certainly, like, having her highlight it in the funniest way possible really does make you go, wait a second, how did they? And then, you know, Wikipedia for the win. I love the fact that she's apparently going out to actually do commentary. I'm a little concerned, mostly because I feel like NBC is just gonna stick her on in for color commentary in like tiny little bite-sized segments, when what I really want is just, here's the Leslie Jones does commentary for the next 3 hours. But you know what? She will have her phone, and she will have Twitter, and she will have video capabilities. And so if she keep doing that, that's all I really need.
Yeah, it's actually, I was thinking about it, and it makes sense because since it's put on NBC and Leslie Jones is on Saturday Night Live, and she's had this groundswell, that's actually good on NBC for kind of capturing what's happening out on the internet and what's fresh and putting it out there for everyone else. Because us here on the internet have been enjoying Leslie Jones for a few days now.
Yeah.
And hopefully when she does whatever commentary on the actual Olympic broadcast, probably like later at night, I would imagine, like maybe recapping some of the stuff. I don't know what she's going to do, but whatever it is, I think she's going to be awesome at it.
Actually, what I kind of hope they do with her is that they don't put her in a studio. They don't have her just watch one thing. I kind of want her to have an all access pass and a camera crew and just let her go and film whatever it is that she goes and does and whatever it is she says, and then give me the highlight reel, because I think
that would be funny. Like sort of like a woman on the spot, like for these different events. Like, hey, I'm Leslie Jones. I'm here at the epee finals. I don't even know what an epee is, but it's a sword.
Yeah, that kind of like that. Maybe less even structured and more just let her do what she's doing on Twitter, except with a really nice camera crew following her around. I think, and then maybe 2 hours of it is just her in the stands watching swim team heats, but it'll be 2 hours of epic cheering, and she will be the loudest person there.
She will rock the red, white, and blue so hard.
Oh yeah. So anyway, I will miss. The only regret is that, once again, I don't have cable, so I have no way to watch any of this, and so I'm gonna have to wait for any of her stuff to end up filtering back onto the internet before I could see it again.
Yeah, and I know some highlights have been showing up on like NBC's YouTube page and stuff like that, but it's just not the same. And I actually watched Michael Phelps not too long ago while I was making dinner, so that was really cool. I love catching the finals and seeing the emotion that happens on the medal stand. That is one of my favorite things. Just hear the Star Spangled Banner and the Stars and Stripes being raised, and some lucky American, some lucky, hardworking, fucking awesome American is hoisting a gold medal.
Mm. Yeah, that's awesome. My favorite thing is watching something I know nothing about and not really knowing what's going on, and then maybe learning enough to catch on.
I did not realize that in rugby, you didn't score when you went over the line like in American football. Wherever you go over the line is where you get to make your try, and that's what scores you the points.
See, now, Luke used to do fencing in college. He fenced quite a bit, and actually talks about learning from some fencing masters, and he knows quite a bit about fencing. And so watching clips of some of the fencing in where I don't know anything about it, but he like sees technique and sees gambits and sees all the shit that's going on, and watching him geek out over it and then explain what's going on is so much fun.
Yeah. I love talking about sports that people don't know a whole lot about. I'm well out of practice on judo, but I have caught some of the judo competitions, and
nice.
It's kind of gotten me thinking about getting back in. I know I've lost a bunch of weight. I'm getting stronger, and it would be something that I say "and" a lot, apparently, according to Toastmasters. But it's something that's been on my mind. I'm a little hesitant because I am getting older. I'm not nearly as flexible. I was never really that flexible. And when you start getting older, injuries are harder to come back from. And I like being not injured. And as fun as judo might be, it's always going to be in the back of my mind. Is this going to be when I sprain something badly? Am I going to dislocate something? That said, the idea of getting back into judo and doing something along those lines is kind of exciting.
Yeah. I've got to figure out, some of my favorite Olympic memories are having access to Canadian Olympic coverage.
Oh, yeah.
Canadian Olympic coverage is amazing, and that's where I've usually been able to watch all the sports that you would never actually normally see. Because when I lived in Buffalo, we got CFTO TV.
Right.
So
didn't we watch some? Weren't there Olympic sports on in? I guess it was 2012 in Toronto.
Maybe.
I think there were, because I do remember watching some of the weird like bicycle races, like the indoor cycling.
Oh God, that stuff is awesome.
Yes.
Like the weird mind games that go on, and the fact that it's not you racing against a clock or a heat. You're just racing against the other person. So as long as you are ahead of them at the end, you win. Like, oh my God. People at home, if you get a chance, I think actually Bernie's talked about this on the podcast. Just Google search the indoor cycling Olympics. And it's to see men and women on some of the fastest bikes made in existence on tracks that are those weird curved tracks that are meant to make you go super fast, trying to go as slow as possible against each other is so amazing. It is hysterical and the weirdest thing ever of all time. And it's because it's one of those the few sports in where the heats are, the time has nothing to do with the heat. It's just, do you come in first?
Right. Yep.
Oh God, it's amazing. Yeah, and I love watching. So track and field, it's usually all the running and the. Sometimes you'll get pole vaulting that gets the highlight reels, but I love some of the old school Olympian sports. Give me discus, give me javelin, give me long jump, give me those classic sports that you picture naked men in years past doing, I love watching those. Also, javelin is one of those sports that you look at and you go, okay, I see where this came from. I see the practical applications of this.
Okay, I'm gonna change the tone here a little bit.
Go for it.
And I am going to put up a picture into the stream that has gotten a little bit of controversy.
Ooh.
And as soon as I put it up here, it is of the women's track and field team, or one of the relay teams. I'm not sure which relay, but this was a picture that they took very recently. Let me go ahead and bring it up here. Dang it, come down. And so this is one of our relay teams. And when they were introduced, they came out and did a little like wave, and then they struck a pose. They struck a Charlie's Angel pose. And the context of the controversy is that there was a tweet that was put out where it was like the literal difference between the US and the UK. And so it shows the US team striking this Charlie Angels pose with finger guns, and the UK team just kind of sitting there waving. And the point that was made was, is the Charlie's Angels pose insensitive given all the gun violence in America? I would say no. Here's why. Women doing the Charlie's Angels pose has been around for a long time, ever since Charlie's Angels. It's just from what I've been able to see and what my experience has been, it's just something chicks do.
Yeah, I gotta go with you there for a couple of reasons. One, it's just fun. Two, when you see this, the first thing you think is it's the Charlie's Angels pose. The first thing you don't think is it's a bunch of women holding guns. And third, it's not just all of the gun violence that's happened in America. Very recently, the issue has been gun violence against African Americans in America, and the disproportionate amount of time that they have been. And so I think we can trust African American women to be more sensitive about this kind of thing than we are, or at least that I am. And so if they are willing to strike that pose, then no, I trust them to know that their heart is in the Charlie's Angels and not in gun violence.
Okay. Yeah, that's something that kind of bugged me. And there was this sort of like Twitter hate echo chamber that was going on. And I was just like, let's just keep it fun.
Yeah.
Let's just keep it fun.
I don't know whether posing like that at what should be a kind of an honorable sporting event, like that's whether that was something they should have, whether or not I think this was all in good fun.
Right.
Whether or not that was a good in the spirit of the moment, maybe not. But
I would say it would sort of be like if a team come out and they did like a Super Sentai like Power Rangers pose. That would be sort of in the same vein. Where is it keeping with the decorum of the event? Maybe not, but it's still super fun.
Yeah, that's the word I was searching for that you perfectly nailed. The decorum of the event. Is it keeping in that spirit? Probably not. But I don't see it. I don't think it should be a big deal. In fact, I'd even heard about it until you just posted the picture. But once again, I don't have cable. So yeah,
we've talked a lot about the Olympics.
Well, it's kind of a big deal, and
and we're going to it's going to continue next week.
I'm going to attempt to watch more Olympics, a lot more Olympics. I honestly, if I had my choice, it would just kind of be on and around in my life all of the time, and just in the background. And every once in a while, I would just kind of more focus on it, and that's what I love about it, is just constantly having it going on. But I would have to move back to Buffalo and get Canadian TV in order to really be able to appreciate it. So, I'll do my best. Anyway, we have a little bit more time. Can we talk about something else that I've finally been able to watch, despite the fact that I don't have cable TV?
Sure.
So, Day 5 finished its run last weekend, and I think this weekend this past weekend they did some interstitial stuff, some like bonus episode things. And I've been talking about how I've been waiting for the main run to be over so that Luke and I can actually sit down and watch, because we just never got a chance to watch when it first came out. Last night, Luke and I started that journey. We've watched the first 2 full episodes of Day 5. I'm not going to go into detail. I'm not going to spoil anything. I will say I've been very impressed with the first 2 episodes. Jonathan, have you seen it?
I have seen it all the way.
You've seen, okay. I'll still not go into spoilers, obviously. I was very impressed with the overall quality of pretty much, and anything you would ascribe quality to, the writing, the acting, the directing. It comes off as a Netflix series, or at least at Rooster Teeth attempting that style of show. Especially the opening credit sequence, the very tonally weird, serious, crazy opening eye sequence. The first 2 episodes were fun and interesting. I was actually kind of surprised at how rated R it got very quickly.
Yes.
I mean,
you see titties within like the first 10 minutes.
You see, and more than that, you see dead people and you see dead children.
Yeah.
I mean, it happens in the first couple of minutes. It's not a spoiler. And they warn you about graphic content at the beginning of each episode. And, maybe it's Game of Thrones that has desensitized me to that graphic content card. And it wasn't... I'm not going to say that any of the content that was graphic was out of place or out of tone or out of character, but it did kind of surprise me. It is definitely a hard R that I had not seen from Rooster Teeth content before. Regardless, I thought it was... the titties were, okay, a little gratuitous, but whatever. They're going to talk about a bunch of things that you're probably going to talk about in that situation. I am very interested to see where the story goes, where Luke and I left off at the end of the second episode hasn't really answered any questions, but promises that the next episode might. So I'm curious. I'm not 100% invested in these characters just yet, but I'm super invested in the world and the story. And so watching them piece together this mystery and survive at the same time has been really interesting. And Luke and I made the fatal mistake of watching these 2 episodes before we were getting ready for bed. And yeah, we don't recommend that. It's probably unavoidable with our schedules if we're going to try to finish watching the whole series this week. And chances are that's one we're going to be watching is an episode or 2 before bed. And yeah, it's like watching a horror movie before bed and then turning off the lights. You know intellectually, but what are you going to do? So no, I would not recommend watching this before bed. But we did have a fun time talking about musing on what could happen next in the plot, about what could be the cause of this calamity that's happened. I thought there were a couple of cameos that I thought were really well done, because I think they made it a point to hire actors outside of Rooster Teeth for this. I mean, obviously there's the big Joel moment coming up, but really, except for a couple of the cameos in the second episode, it's all non-Rooster Teeth actors. And I think that's on purpose, because this is such a tonal shift from what you normally see out of Rooster Teeth content. And I think that's perfect. And the cameos that you do see, I think, are really well done and brief enough and to offer some levity. I thought Gavin's in particular was actually quite wonderfully dark. And that's all I'll say. So yeah, we're looking forward to seeing more. I don't know exactly how quickly we'll get through it, but my hope is by this time next week, when I'm on the podcast, I'll be able to give a full review, having seen it's 6 episodes, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And here's what I would recommend. Have you seen Stranger Things yet?
No, that is something else that we need to watch.
So I would almost say skip the rest of day 5 and watch Stranger Things.
Huh. That doesn't surprise me that you say that. I think. Do you say that because of a quality thing, or because?
Yes, because Stranger Things might be the best TV show of the last 4 or 5 years. And day 5 tries to be good.
Yeah.
It does succeed in some parts. There are good things that happen in day 5. I think the cinematography is absolutely gorgeous. I think it is an incredibly well shot series. As far as how it looks, it's phenomenal. I can't say that about the story itself. And again, not to get too spoilery, but I don't know. It just feels inconsistent. I don't know, that the acting feels kind of wooden in some places and then very heartfelt in others. I think the young man who plays the little boy, I can't remember his name.
Oh, I'm blanking on it too, but I know who you're talking about.
But anyway, I think that kid does an amazing... Sam is his name.
Yes.
He does a great job. I think he's probably puts out one of the best performances of the entire cast. And considering that the rest of the cast are practiced adult actors, I don't know what that says, but that was my opinion, in that, like, sometimes Jake and especially Ellis just don't... I'm just not feeling it. And it makes the show hard to get into, despite of how beautiful it looks. It's just it's definitely an improvement to the live quality production that Laser Team was, but so it steps in the right direction. I just feel like it's not quite there yet.
Okay. Well, as I said, that might be why I'm feeling like I'm not heavily invested in the characters, but I am really interested in whether we get answers to this mystery or not. And so I want to continue to watch. Stranger Things is definitely on our list. I think we're going to try to finish day 5 first, because it is, at this point, we're a third of the way through it. And we're going to churn through this. And then, I think Stranger Things is next on the... How many episodes is that?
8.
Okay. So, and those are hour-long episodes?
45 minutes to an hour. It was designed to be like network TV. So that's the episodes shake out to about 45 minutes to an hour. And it's incredible how anyone could have turned this away. I guess when you see it now, hindsight's 2020. So you're like, wow, how could any network turn down a show like this? And then if you think about it and you think about the pitch that this show might make, you can kind of see, okay, that would be a tough sell to stuffy shirt network execs, even people at like Showtime and HBO who tend to be a little bit more liberal with what they greenlight. But for Netflix, it's perfect. And the fact that it's 8 episodes is perfect. It tells its story completely in those episodes. It doesn't need anything more. And it certainly may be able to do with less, but it's one of the wonderful things about Netflix is how the story takes up as much time as it needs.
Yeah. Thank God for Netflix, and that Netflix is willing to do the BBC model of take the time and the money that you need, and when you're done, you're done.
Yep.
Yes, I will definitely put that on the docket. We're going to finish day 5 first because that has also been waiting a long time, super long time actually. But yes, I promise that will be the next thing we will dive into.
Michael Phelps has won another gold medal.
Another one. That's how many now?
That is 21.
There you go. His gold medals are now old enough to drink. Ba-doom, boom. Hey, by this time next week, he may have 43. Who knows? Actually, realistically, how many more could he win by this time next week?
I don't know. I'm not sure how many events he's in.
Yeah. What did he just win a gold medal?
I don't know. I'm looking that up. But I did, before we get done, want to talk about Suicide Squad a bit.
Oh, yes, because you saw it.
I did see it.
All right. Hit me.
It was okay. I didn't hate it.
Which
I can't recommend
a more glowing review than a lot of people.
I think a lot of people are being unfair and have expectations that exceed what the filmmaker can deliver. So here's the deal. Suicide Squad could have been good if it weren't so meddled with. Like, there are things that it does really well. Some of the characters are pretty good, and there are all these cool little touches. Margot Robbie has an amazing time as Harley Quinn. She looks like she's having a lot of fun, and she's definitely the highlight of the movie. There just wasn't enough. And there were a lot of annoying things that the movie did. It was very jump cutty at the beginning. It was kind of over here, and now it's over here, and you're assembling the team, but you're not assembling the team. Why just assemble the team? The Joker is completely unnecessary. He could have been at the beginning of the movie, and that's it, and that would have been just fine. He didn't need to be in as much of the movie as he was. He still wasn't in it a lot, but it was just largely unnecessary. Part of the problem is that the cast for this movie was fucking huge. And David Ayer, God bless him, just does not know how to manage a ensemble cast that big. Some directors do. Tim Gunn does. When he did Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy is a great movie where it has a big cast. The Avengers, again, Joss Whedon. And then again, Joss Whedon with Serenity. And then you have Ridley Scott, who took the cast of Black Hawk Down, which was largely made up of white dudes with dirty faces. And by the end, you knew all of the white dudes with dirty faces. You knew their names. You knew what was happening with them. And it's a master study in a big cast like that. Suicide Squad doesn't do that. And Suicide Squad would have benefited greatly from not nearly as many characters, because some of them just really don't do anything and are really boring. And you're just like, why are they there? The other problem is the soundtrack. So, okay, Obo, you liked the soundtrack for Guardians of the Galaxy, right?
Yeah, I thought it was great.
So whenever you heard a an old pop song come up in Guardians of the Galaxy, I felt like, hey, this is appropriate. This is cool. Sort of the same thing with Stranger Things. Stranger Things has an amazing, not orchestral, but like original score. And they also have a really, really good soundtrack. It's nostalgic. It takes you into the moment. It's appropriate to the scenes where they choose to use these songs. Suicide Squad is the opposite. The music in Suicide Squad is so obvious and insipid. It's like, well, of course you would choose this song. And it's boring that you did. It's obvious and it's just not good. And so it was obnoxious just getting this song and you're like, oh God, I feel like I'm watching a Ford commercial or something. This is just not good.
Yeah.
And there's lots of rumors and stuff that I won't get into, but I will just kind of tie it off and say it is okay. If you see it on a plane, hey, you'll probably enjoy it on the plane. If you see it on Netflix in a year or two, hey, spend an evening, maybe see it. But don't spend a whole lot of money or effort going out and seeing it because it's just not worth it. And I hate to be someone who's bashing DC movies, but DC movies have given me a lot to bash. It's like the Marvel movie studio has it down to a science, and they know what they're doing, and they know what they're going to be putting out. And even when you get a movie like Ant-Man that isn't the best movie overall, it's still a lot of fun. Suicide Squad had fun moments, but it's not a fun movie.
Well, that seems like a very fair review considering this movie has gotten a lot of random shit thrown at it. I'm still kind of tempted to see it, but maybe I'll wait for it to also show up on Netflix after I'm done watching Stranger Things.
Yeah. And for those watching the stream, just about through my entire Suicide Squad review, I had the Suicide Squad from the CW's Arrow show, not the Suicide Squad from the movie. Because I will say the Suicide Squad from Arrow was probably more interesting and better written than this Suicide Squad.
Aw. Well, DC keeps trying, and their movies
are getting better.
They're getting better. You know what? The first bunch of Marvel movies weren't that amazing, and it took a little while to get going too. We'll see.
I think Iron Man is still one of the best Marvel movies.
Yeah, but leading
Thor wasn't. And I guess it's only fair to compare the current like joint cinematic offerings, because I think if you start getting into like the original Hulk and the like X-Men Final Stand, the third X-Men movie, Wolverine Origins, you get into the Green Lantern, you start, it's not really a fair comparison, because like if you were to throw all of those movies in the mix, then you're competing against the Nolan Batman series, which is almost peerless.
It's definitely not a one-on-one comparison, but certainly Marvel wasn't the overnight sensation that a lot of people like to think. It was a lot of hard work. It was a slow build-up, and then it was Robert Downey Jr. kind of kicking things off, making what should have been not a very good movie into a really great movie. So, I think the DC movies are getting better, as you said, and my hope is that Wonder Woman is really good and that the Justice League movie is really good. Like I want all these movies to be good. I'm not a Marvel fangirl. I want to see all of them succeed.
I'm the same way. Like I don't want to see these sort of movies fail, but maybe it's about time they did. This is actually kind of funny. I'm listening to Anthony Bourdain's Kitchen Confidential right now. The audiobook was recommended to me, and so I went ahead and grabbed it, and I've been listening to it. And Anthony Bourdain goes into why you don't want artisans in your line cooks. You want them to be craftsmen. You want them to be very skilled. You want them to be very professional, but you want them to be able to follow directions. You don't want them going off recipe or off menu or something like that, exercising their creativity while they're on the line. No, while they're on the line, they're making whatever the customer orders and what they've ordered before. And so you don't want a whole lot of creativity to be kind of like bucking against the system. I feel like these joined cinematic universes, these big movie franchises with what Marvel has and what DC is trying to do, your directors are very much like line cooks. It's great that you've had true artists like Joss Whedon and Kenneth Branagh, and we'll even throw Joe Johnson in there. Sure, why not? But at the end of the day, you want these movies to conform to a certain tone and to a certain universe, which is why Edgar Allan Wright didn't work out. So you start getting these directors that the studios can say, hey, we want our Ant-Man movie to look this way. And they're like, yeah, no problem. I can do that. One of my favorite examples is Alan Taylor, who did, what did he do? Thor: Dark World. He is a television guy. He has directed Game of Thrones episodes, and then he directed Thor: Dark World. And at the end of Thor: Dark World, there is a scene from James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy, which James Gunn directed. And so Alan Taylor kind of bucked a little bit and was like, I didn't like the fact that another director's short was essentially slapped onto my movie.
Yeah.
But he didn't complain too much because he's a company guy. And the Russo brothers, who are now in charge of a lot of the tentpole Marvel movies, they did Winter Soldier, they did Civil War, and now they're going to be doing Infinity Wars. They're sort of the ideal company men for Marvel right now. And I don't think that DC, one, has found the leadership to make that happen. And two, they don't have quite the line cooks that they need to pump out these great, technically really good and compliant movies, I guess I'll say. Which I thought that was an interesting comparison in my head.
It's a very interesting comparison. I think the comparison is apt, though it doesn't give enough credit to the Russos and Josh Whedon and the actual directors or the writers. But it does overall make a lot of sense, because you need, unlike any other franchise or even individual film, these are, from top to bottom, these are people who, you're not in it just to make a good movie. You're in it to be a part of a much larger team than just the people working on the movie that you're on. And being able to compromise in that way, I think, has been one of the reasons that the Marvel Cinematic Universe has continued to consistently work. I mean, it would fall apart like a house of cards if it didn't. And the fact that these individuals have been able to both shine in their artistic vision, as well as have I think it's a mark of true artistry to be able to both have personal artistic endeavors and merit, and yet work as a whole and as a team, and be able to compromise. I mean, that's, as an orchestral musician, that's always my goal. I need to personally play my best, and I want what I'm playing to not only be as good as I can make it, I want it to be me playing, and I want to be able to put myself into my music. But I'm also very aware that there are probably 70, 80, 90 people around me, and a guy who is directing me, or a girl who's directing me. And it is also my job to make what I'm doing fit in with them. And compromise isn't always a bad thing. And so, yeah, I think it's a very good comparison. And you're right that DC is just finally starting to figure that out. And they've also tried to jump onto the cinematic universe model very quickly, and maybe even too fast. But my hope is that this rickety cart that's being slapped together will eventually stabilize and turn into a race car and be awesome. Hopefully by the time Wonder Woman comes out, please.
I think I know they wanted to kind of build up to Justice League. They should have just fucking made Justice League. They shouldn't have bothered with Batman v Superman. I get that that's like the world's finest comic is Batman and Superman. So if you're going for a team up, that's a logical place to start. but it ended up in Batman v Superman that you had such big allusions to the Justice League coming anyway. You might as well just have made the fucking Justice League. And you could have done it with just Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. It would have been a much different movie, but that's good because the movie that you had wasn't great. You didn't have to have this artificial conflict between Batman and Superman. You could have just been like, well, damn, there's this problem going on and I need help solving it. And Batman's like, hey, I could use a Kryptonian. So maybe there's some initial conflict. Like, they didn't have to make a whole movie out of the conflict. They could have done what the Avengers did in the Avengers, is you have one fight between Captain America, Thor, and Iron Man, and then it's like, okay, are we done? All right, we're done. And then they continue on. They didn't need to make the whole movie Batman fighting Superman. They could have just made it like a little part and then focus the rest of the movie about getting the Justice League. And then that one email in Batman v Superman where it shows all the other Justice Leaguers would have been so fucking awkward.
or at least that first movie is, as you said, just the three of them, just the marquee Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and then at the end there's something coming that we're gonna need a bigger boat for. Essentially,
we're gonna need a bigger team.
That's all right. So it's the Avengers. If the Avengers 2 was Electric Boogaloo putting a bigger team together to fight Ultron, that would have made a lot of sense. God damn it, Jonathan, why aren't you directing these movies?
I don't know. Nobody asked.
You should. No. I'm asking you right now. Direct these movies.
I will go to whoever is in charge of DC. I don't even know who the fuck it is. And and just kick down the door, demand that they make me king, and hope my intimidate check is high enough to make them comply.
I will give you advantage on that intimidate check if it means you can be in charge.
I can't think of a better way to finish off the show than having advantage. And our sound producer is me, Jonathan, new director and visionary for the DC Extended Universe, Cerna. Our host is Jack Edithil. Our news gal is Lauren Urban. Our what else do we credit? Oh, our music is done by Linnea Boyev. Our intro is done by the inimitable Bob Ball. And on behalf of everyone here at Glib Shark, thank you so much for hanging out with us. You can follow us at Glib Shark, her at Obo Crazy, me at Road_Block, not appearing in this show, at Jack Edithil, and collectively, once again, at Glib Shark. You can also follow our other project, some would say our bigger project, Dungeons and Dragons and Drunks, at Dungeon Drunks. Catch new episodes on the Glib Shark theme. And for all of us here at Glib Shark, thank you so much for listening. We will see you next week. Bye.